It's a great honor and a privilege to introduce Mr. Frederich Namhadi. Today you're known as Al Natan. He's sitting here in Jerusalem in Beit Vegan. And Al Natan, if you can mention a little bit about yourself, your origins and your journey, how you embraced Judaism. Coming from Namibia, being born in Namibia.
Well, it's a long story. I am Frederich Namhadi. Frederich is a name that was given at baptism. My native name is Pengonjabi, meaning God has given. I was born in then Southwest Africa, which is called Namibia today. I was born in the northern Namibia, close to the Namibian and Angolan borders. My tribe was Ovawambo, and the Ovawambo tribe is divided into sub-tribes. And I belong to one called Kwanyama, which has been divided by the borders when the Europeans divided Africa. So part of my sub-tribe members are on the other side of Angola, meaning south of Angola and the northern Namibia. I'm the first born to my mom. And I've got 5 siblings. I'm the 5th one, the firstborn. 3 boys and 2 daughters. To my father, we were 13. My father had 4 wives, and my mother is 86 years old. My father is 101.
Wow.
They are both living, Baruch Hashem. They are peasants. I grew up there as a shepherd, looking after my parents' livestock. I got my pre-primal education there. Southwest Africa was divided into homelands after South Africa took over from the Germans in 1915. And most of the natives, particularly in the northern Namibia, rejected the education that the Afrikaners brought to the country, and not only that, but before also before my sub-tribe Guanyamas were the last in Southwest Africa and also Southern Angola, was the last to have embraced Christianity. We did not accept Christianity because it was a foreign thing. But eventually, after our king, the last king who was killed by the combined forces, Portuguese, Afrikaners, Germans, partly Germans, English speaking, or English. So they killed our last king in 1917 in February. So, and after there we did not have a monarchy until 2008, when we revived our kingdom, our monarchy. Namibians were at war with South Africa since 1959. And we only became independent 21st March 1990 from South Africa under the UN Resolution 435. Many natives were leaving the country during war. They were leaving the country through Angola, through Botswana, through Rhodesia, north and the west, in the south. I was one of those who left the country to join my fellow Namibians in exile to fight for independence of Namibia.
And how old were you when you left?
Was probably 21, not 18, sorry. I was 18. And when I left the country, I passed through Botswana. Before I left the country, I was much more active in politics. At a very tender age, I was already involved in politics. I was also incarcerated with others, the youth, for being active in politics. So I was in prison 1979 in December, and thereafter 1981. But as a political tension was increasing or escalating, eventually I left the country. So I spent some time in Zambia, and then finally I came to find myself in Angola as a freedom fighter. But before I proceeded to Zambia, I was also incarcerated by the Botswana authorities for having crossed their borders without papers. I was not alone, I was with others. So we were kept just in prison without being brought before court, because the Botswana authority understood that we were refugees running away from the apartheid system, and we considered ourselves as a freedom fighters. So they did not prosecute us, but rather handed us to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in Hebron. So only it was thereafter we proceeded to Zambia, of course through Zimbabwe. We came until we received, I received my military training in Angola under SWAPO. It's a liberation movement. Mr. Noyoma was the president of the movement. But as time came and go, there were so many things happened within the liberation movement that affected both leaders of the movement, some of them, and many of the cadres, both civilian and those and the trained Namibians. People came to accuse each other of being spies and so forth. People started killing each other in the camps and so forth.
Did you witness any
Yes.
of this social, this unrest and this?
Yes, I did witness that. After having been trained, after my training, I was also sent with others combatants to the war zone. To fight against UNITA, that was backed by the South African authority, to fight the South African army or forces. And until I personally was accused of being a South African spy, and I was arrested by my own fellow comrade, subjected to torture, all form of torture. I spent 2.5 years into the ground dungeons. I was not alone. I found a number of fellow Namibians who were subjected to the same ordeal. Thousands and thousands of them up to this very day are not counted for, disappeared and died.
Well, why would they think that you were a South African spy?
It was difficult actually to understand to understand the system of the movement. Because the moment you questioned, for example, the decision of the commanders or some higher rank officials, their decision, their logic, their rationale, they label you as a spy. Or you relate a story that is not related to the movement, but simply a story of life experience, is turned against you. The story is being twisted to your disadvantage. And all this also happened to me. And my stories of life experience, of trying all, another is to reason with some of my seniors at a political level that they were considered as discouraging other fellow combatants, and therefore I was labeled as a hebinator, as a spy within the movement. So until 1989, when the movement South Africa signed a ceasefire, some of my inmates at the different detention centers were released as part of the agreement between warring parties that SWAPO was forced to release detainees, people they claim to be spies. Yes, some of them were released, probably 150 something, I forgot the number now, were released. But I was not released with others, because I was at a different detention center. So I had escaped from that detention center with other 15 inmates. We escaped and handed ourselves to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Lubango, or offices in Lubango, 1989, in July. So it was out of our escape that we managed to save 67 inmates we left behind. So the United Nations with the International Committee of the Red Cross repatriated us back to Namibia. Arriving in Namibia in August the 8th, life in Namibia wasn't easy at that time, because the international media reported all covered the whole story of our escape, and it was circulated internationally that SWAPO is still holding Namibians into their hidings, into unknown locations. As a proof of this, we were shown our faces. When we came back to the country, we were so victimized, even including by our own family members. Why? Because the SWAPO at that time used intimidations, despite of the presence of the UN forces, UNTAG. SWAPO uses or used intimidation, threat, to the point that those who were our friends, relative and family members could distance themselves from being seen with you because you are considered as a spy, as a traitor. So I have been almost 2 years, if not 2 years, after I have returned from exile, without really seeing my parents. Because the United Nations, the Red Cross also informed us that our safety could only be granted if we live in the city, in Windhoek. And they were right, because I tried many times to go to my parents from Windhoek, but how many times did I escape their ambush? They would ambush me, wanted to get me, to kill me. But thank God I survived all many attempts.
You weren't a South African spy.
I wasn't.
And how did your siblings, were they in contact with you? Did they come and visit you?
They did not want even to be seen with me.
Your own siblings?
Yeah.
And your parents, they couldn't travel to see you in
My parents could not also travel.
So your own siblings were scared to even associate with you?
Yeah, that's right.
That's
the right word.
That must have been extremely difficult for you.
Yes.
Especially that you were so innocent of...
I can guarantee you that most of the inmates that I have been with, through different, not through, but at a different detention centers in Angola, none was a spy. None.
You must have become so disillusioned with the injustice of this.
Yes. I must mention something, that I'm not a man of... I don't have any education. I don't have any certificate behind me. I don't have a primary education. I don't have a secondary education. My poor English is a self-taught.
So that's a poor, you're very fluent, but it's all self-taught. It's all self-taught.
And because in the dungeons where I spent 2 years and a half, there were many learned people. So I have tried my level best requesting them, whoever can find time, to teach me English, teach me alphabet in English, teach me English, teach me how to write and to read and write English.
You never went to primary school or to any
No.
school? You were never given that opportunity?
The opportunities were there, but as I said before, we rejected the South African education system. We see it and they censored it as a means of suppression.
Were your parents also very keen that you should also, in a way, boycott the apartheid education system?
It was a general thing. It's not the only parent, but it's a general thing that we did not. We were hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
Parents were hesitant to have their children receive education, but does not mean that everyone is like that. A number of them, as time came and go, people got all realized that it's important that we embrace education. But with the politics and the struggle for independence, carried many of the youth,
Mm-hmm.
made us to join the liberation movement outside the country.
And were your parents supportive that you went into exile?
They were not supportive. I did not say goodbye to them.
You never said goodbye.
Nobody could say goodbye to his parents, because the South African war machinery and the propaganda was that people are suffering in exile. They don't have food, they eat grass, and then they die like flies. Now, a number of people, the parents, were discouraging their children from joining the liberation movement because of this propaganda. So I did not say goodbye to my parents. I just left the country. And the majority of us, of course, left the country in the same way. So I don't have any education. So having returned back to Namibia, participated in the general elections in 1989 in November. The liberation movement, of course, won elections. Well, there were some legal process. It was transformed from a liberation movement to a political party in order to participate in a general elections like other political parties in the country. And the liberation movement won elections and took power. But yet politics was the situation to many of us detainees were subjected to many things. Still name calling, segregations, prejudices were following us. Wherever you could go, you are being victimized, regarded and seen as an outcast. This has been my life. this has been the life of other detainees to this very day in Namibia. So, while in a prison, which I do not really describe prison in the sense of the word, these were detentions that you don't have a bed, you don't have a cloth, you don't have a blanket, you sleep on the floor, which is not a floor like you have got a floor here, it's a dirt floor. So even at the learning that I was doing, it was at my risk and also at the risk of the one who teaches me. Because once they discover you, you are taken out from the underground there and the torture. Many were tortured and did not survive the torture. They died. These are the things that I witnessed. It's not something that I have heard, because I passed through the same thing. You are tortured to death. If you survive, you survive. That was a daily thing in detentions. So my pen was, I would sneak in the small stick in order to write on my thigh. Either it's mathematics, my thigh. So my saliva was my eraser. It's my saliva to erase my writing. They wait for my skin to dry in order to write something new. We have done this, well, I have done this until when I came out of prison, or when I escaped, after I escaped, I could express myself in English. I could write. I could read the newspapers on my own and understand the world outside.
And before you went into exile, you couldn't do it?
No. So, having returned home to Namibia, political situation was also gradually changing. Tried to find a job until 1992. I found a job, my first job of its kind. I worked for the Namibian Institute for Democracy, teaching the general public the constitutional right, civic education. But prior to 1992, some of us came together as detainees, and we formed what was then called National Society for Human Rights. We have just changed a few years ago, changed the name. Now it's Namhadi. So to find a job was very, very difficult for me, and until I decided to enroll myself with the Cambridge College in Britain, and now I hold a couple of diplomas from Cambridge International College and the College of Professional Management and the Some Institute in South Africa. So I have got certificate in business economics and commerce, human resources, personal management, accounting. Yeah, so yeah, and tourism. These papers assisted me to open doors, meaning to find a job in the government. So I joined the government, the Namibian government, in 1995.
And by this time, had you met your parents?
Yeah, that time, yes. Thank God, I met my parents.
And how was the reunion when you, because you had been away for so long?
It was emotional.
Did your parents know that you were alive during this time?
First, before I returned, they were told that I'm dead. But when they have heard in the radio, our names were being read in the radio that those are the people who have escaped. So they were happy.
And your siblings, did you manage to reconnect with your siblings?
Oh yes, gradually, yes.
And you have a good relationship with your siblings?
For now, yes.
Were any of those people that falsely accused you, were any of them brought to trial or held accountable for false accusations, for total false accusations, and for putting you in prison and torture, which was totally untrue,
you know,
and unjust?
Politicians were politicians. Those who led the revolution, the liberation movement, were so clever. As soon as they returned back from exile, immediately they made laws that anything that was done in the course of struggle for independence, it cannot be followed. So this is to protect the leaders of the liberation movement, and to protect even those who were actually involved in torturing and executing and killing the innocent. I'm calling my fellow detainees as innocent. Why? Because to this very today, not a single leader, it's now 31 years, not a single leader out of the other leaders who were heading the revolution movement ever came up with evidence to say, yes, so we know that he was a spy. None.
And there was no truth and reconciliation committees or...
Well, in South Africa, they have got the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
But it didn't extend to Namibia.
So in Namibia, it was not the case. Yes, we demanded for it. We tried our level best, but they said no.
And did you ever meet these people that inflicted the torture on you?
Of course.
Wasn't it difficult to see them face to face?
What can you do? Some of them hold high positions in the government, from police to army, the state house. They had public and the government power, authority. You cannot come by. Yes, when I was in a public office, I was placed at a very strategic point that all opposition, that a number of them cannot run away from seeing me. And there is no way that they could what is this? they could get assistance or the public services without passing me or through me. So they saw me, I saw them, I greeted them, they were so surprised. So, but what can you do?
And they never asked for forgiveness or...
No.
You must have become very disillusioned. And it's a very painful thing to have... You sacrificed your life to fight for the liberation and you became a victim.
Yeah, we became victims. So the politics changes, phases in every nation, every society. But in the face of a detainee did not change before the faces of those who accused them or accused us. When they have got a political fight within their political circle, it affects most of the people outside of that circle. So those who were seen not paying allegiance to the ruling party, if you are working in the government or in any government or governmental institution out there, and you have got a position of authority and influence, you are subjected to labels that you are either corrupt or you are you practice nepotism. Again, I became a victim of that too. 2005, in January, I was labeled as a corrupt official, favoring, they said I was favoring in my public service delivery, favoring people of a different party, meaning the official oppositions. So as a result of that, I was suspended from employment for 2.5 years.
But there was never a trial. You never had a trial or...
Yes, there was a disciplinary inquiry. The disciplinary inquiry, I represented myself. But despite all this, I was found guilty. When I was found guilty internally by the orchestrated disciplinary committee, I took the government to court in 2008. The magistrate who had my case was fired, and the judgment to my case was not delivered since 2009 March, when we presented, each side presented the final arguments. To this very day, the judgment was not given. Yes, they called me back to the office. They abrogated my suspension after 2.5 years. I returned to the office. But yet they did not give me a job description. Just an office, sit there and that's it. So I had been coming to work, not to work but to the office, just seated in the office, reading the newspaper, close the office for good 9 years.
And you weren't productive, you weren't doing anything?
No production, nothing. You just seated there.
And you got you were paid?
You will get paid, yes. Back into prison, I started because I served in a different capacity in the liberation movement. Not just an ordinary combatant. But when I was detained, now I started realizing things now. Started questioning things. One of those things I was questioning is about life. How is it possible that a man seems to have power now, but in the next moment he doesn't have it? What makes a man to kill another man? What is really life? How does one define life? Is it based on breathing, sleeping, eating? If one dies, and before death, who was I? And where do I go? Does a person really refer only to the body? Or there is something more to it? These were some of the questions I had. And they were keeping on coming. As time came and go.
But can I ask, growing up, did you have a Christian upbringing?
Yes.
Did you go to church? Did you have a...
I did go to church, but I was not an active Christian.
Could you go to the priest and ask questions?
No.
There wasn't an avenue that you felt comfortable in?
There were not those... I did not have that even the desire. I was not open to all these things. Everything that I started questioning is when I went into exile. And see the manipulations by men with power. Right? Men with power, he discusses a point here. But when he goes behind the door, but when he goes out to the public, the whole thing is different thing. You cannot tell somebody and said, okay, we are hearing that South Africa is invading Angola. That's the information we have received. But yet you make soldiers to go hungry for a week. And then you tell them, go and fight. What does that mean? That's a betrayal in the setting of life. When I was in the detention, when I remember these things, I started now getting some light. But yet I was still in a confusion. Yes, in a confusion. So when I came back to Namibia, then I started, after we have formed the organization to speak on human rights, to advocate for human rights, to teach people the constitutional rights and freedoms and so forth. I was more exposed to many venues that I did not know they exist before I returned to Namibia. So as a result of that, I turned to religion in an effort to see if religion can answer my questions I have in life, about life only.
Did you believe in God at this time? Or?
I have believed in a God, but yes, we were taught God, there's a God. Yes, we were told, yes, there is Jesus, the Son. But did not, the Son did not impress me.
Mm-hmm.
But there is God. Yes, that we know that there is God. Okay, we did not. Our parents did not teach us the way about God, the way Christianity teach.
Mm-hmm.
Our God, what our forefathers embraced, it's not a God that has got a son.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a being that you don't see, you don't, because does not look like you.
Yeah.
Today he brings rain. Tomorrow he gives you the blessing of the field. Tomorrow next day he brings you the multiple of multiplying your livestock. That's how we know there's a God there. So I collected a number of Bible translations, in English of course, and I started studying them.
By yourself?
By myself. And I did not discriminate. Which religion I collected. Even the Islam, I collected the Quran, and there are different books. The Buddha, I collected a number of literatures from them. The Zoroaster, I collected a number of them. And the Baha'i faith, I collected a number of them. The Hindu, I collected a number of them. So, and I brought them before me. So this was done, this is an independent investigation I have made.
Did you have any Jewish books?
No. Because I do not even know who the Jew were. The Jews. When I read my New Testament then, the Jews, for me, it was, the way I understood it, it was just people who were there, but they don't exist now.
And you had never met a Jewish person?
No. Not a single one. So I did not know who the Jews are.
You hadn't heard of Israel at that time?
We had Israel, but he's apparently somewhere there in heaven.
And the land of Israel and Israel?
The land of Israel, we don't know. We call this land as Palestine. Not the land of Israel, but Palestinian. It's a freedom fighter. With the organization that I served, we were in solidarity with the PLO. So that's all what we know. From I joined politics when I was young. So the combination of now of the spirit of revolution plus the communism teaching, so I was who I was.
Because SWAPO was communistic.
was supported by communists.
Yeah.
That's right, yes.
Which, in a way, was atheistic as well.
Yes. You pray in the, particularly in the military bases, you cannot pray. Prayer is one of the things that was discouraged. So I came back. I mean, not that I came back, but I pursued my independent investigation on a religion. But every book that I could open, everything is pointing to a thing called Torah. The Quran, from chapter 2, not chapter 1, from chapter 2 to the last chapter, it speaks about the Jewish people and the Torah. Muhammad is mentioned in the Quran. But wait a second. I'm not looking for Jews. I'm looking for a people called Hebrew. Where are they in this world? I wanted to find even a single one. So by then I did not know the connection between a Jew, people called Jew, and the Hebrew. Because what I could read in the 5 books is Hebrew and the children of Israel. I wanted to find one. So I could not find one. Because I don't know where to go. So, because I was much more involved, I was in a government office. With the advent of internet, and the government officials had an access to internet, I even in the computer. I just look at how people, my secretary, operating the computer, and I decided to operate the computer by my own. And then I started now making research. As a matter of fact, I was looking for a book called the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and that was 2001. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2001. By the way, before that, I left my parents' denomination called Lutheran Church, and I joined the Seventh-day Adventist.
Did you do this? Why did you leave the Lutheran Church in training?
Because I was much more attracted by the teaching of the Seventh-day Adventist because of Shabbat. I see them more appealing than the Seventh-day Adventist. And out of also my independent investigation, Sunday was not the first day. Or, I mean, it was the first day of the week. It was not Shabbat.
And you came to this conclusion yourself?
Yes. So I joined the Seventh-day Adventists because of that. I found their teaching more appealing than any other denominations that I know of. Yes, to the point that I became the elder of the church, and at some time a co-pastor. So when I was searching now the Egyptian Book of the Dead, what it came after, when I was trying to download the name, what it came first is a book called Hebrew Book of the Dead. Then I ran into my bookshop and I said, I wanted this book. They said it will take 3 months. I said, fine, I want it. But then I had a book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Okay, now that, for our listeners, was a forgery which was done by the Tsar, a very anti-Semitic, that the Jews had taken over the world and the power of the...
For me, I only wanted the information. I place in my independent investigation about things, whether when I was investigating human rights violations, I tried to avoid the prejudices and the biasness. Why? Because I look at my own experience. If I were to place myself into prejudices, I am justifying it to myself that what I went through is true. So I should not complain to anybody saying I suffered. So I should put the prejudices out, on the side, for me to see, not to see, but to be led by the information where it leads me to.
Where did you get the Elders of Zion, the book, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion?
It was ordered through Amazon.
And you ordered it?
Yes, I ordered it, yes.
And what was your reaction when you read the book?
I read it, and if I remember so well, page 4 of that book, it speaks about, first it started with a rhetorical question. What makes a Jew to be always on top? What makes a Jew? People who have been persecuted, even killed and murdered, but yet everywhere, no matter whatever happened to them, you find a Jew on top. And I said to myself, that very moment is when I made a connection that a Jew is an extension of the children of Israel.
And this was a self-discovery.
Yes, it's a self-discovery. Self-discovery. So, and I said to myself, if these people could be persecuted, killed, and they survive to this day, this is a proof that some way, somehow, these people have got something that the world does not see. And I must find these people. Truly, I was prepared. I was prepared to go anywhere in this world to meet just one. Because I was not satisfied. I was not satisfied by what I was reading in what is called in Christianity Old Testament. This book cannot tell me the mountain. No. Mountain must be something hidden, only using a figure of speech called mountain. River. What is a river? The river, I saw many rivers in Africa, particularly the Southern Africa that I know of. Is this book just telling me river? No. There must be something else behind this figure of speech. So this was through independent investigation. And until one morning, I was looking for something in our local telephone directory. And that, what I was looking for, it starts with a W. And as I was scrolling through the telephone directory, is where I came across Windhoek Hebrew Congregation. I said, wow, let me try this number. Why are they using the word Hebrew? Let me phone. I phoned, and the man answered and said, I'm Tzvi Golik. I said to say, I'm looking for the Hebrew people. And they said, where are you calling from? I said, I'm calling from Windhoek. Yeah, I'm also based in Windhoek. Okay, but say, the reason why I wanted to see these people is because I'm looking for something called, a book called Torah. He said, if you live in Windhoek, I am on this street, and he gave me the address. Just when he mentioned the address, I said to myself, but this is the street I passed by all the time when I go. In fact, when I take my children to school, and when, every day I drive there. Except on Shabbat. On Shabbat I only go to the church which was close to my house. Well, it's not close, but it was a walking distance. So he invited me. Just immediately when he just opened his gate, the first word that I came up with is to him, these are the people I'm looking for. He didn't say any word. He just opened the door and said, and I said to him, these are the people I'm looking for. And he said, what? Then he invited me in. We sat together. I related to my story just the way I'm relating it now. Then he told me that he is the one who is heading the community. There are not many, but they have got a synagogue here, and they go on Friday. They know the Seventh-day Adventist people, but the way they also observe Shabbat, it's not technically like us. He said, like us, we Jewish people observe Shabbat.
Was he Orthodox?
He is Orthodox.
And he had a kippah?
Yes. And that time when I was discussing with him, he gave me a kippah, a black one. And they said, we Jewish, we put this as a sign of humility. And he gave me that, and I put it on. And when I left, before I left, I asked him, can I keep it? He said, yes, you can. But before I left, he gave me the information that, they go to the synagogue on Friday before sunset, and if I'm willing, I can join them. He said, you can come here, or I meet you at there. I came to the shul. I said, but this is the building. And when I look at the what I came to know as Magen David, I said, but I think I just spoke to myself. I said, maybe I'm at the wrong place. Why? Because I see this sign in Freemasons. I said, no, I read a lot about Freemasons. Maybe I'm at the wrong place. But there was something behind that says, hang on for a while. Maybe this is not a time to put everything aside. Okay. And I said, I need a Torah. He said, well, we don't sell we call it Chumash. We don't call it, we don't sell them here. We don't have any stock. But if you want, it costs us 450 rand. I said, I have got the money. Here it is. So I gave the money that very moment. He said, it will take 2 weeks to come. It will take 2 weeks to come. So I waited for 2 weeks. And it came. And they showed me how to read it. But on the day that I went into the synagogue, apart from the free mansions, I've never stopped going to the shul, and it was 2004. So now the journey has started.
When you went into that synagogue that Friday night, did they explain to you what was happening, or did they explain what the synagogue was?
Yes.
And were they very welcoming to you, very friendly?
In truth, there were some people who had reservation about me. I remember so well. Someone was even saying, no, I did not come to the synagogue, I only want food. I laughed because it was into my hearing. I laughed. I said, I'm working. To my heart, I did not tell anybody. I said, I work for the government. Good position for that matter. Food? Come on. Me looking for food? No. So it was a kind of a insult, but I ignored it because I needed to see what I wanted to see. Not what I wanted to see, but to go further than what I'm seeing now. Yes. And later on, you know, you are discriminated because of your color of skin by some, not everybody. Was discriminated, but this man, the one I met first, holding my hand from that very beginning of time until I finished my conversion.
Amazing. And he's the leader of the Windhoek Hebrew community.
That's right. So I went to South Africa. He gave me names of rabbis I should call when I come to Cape Town. When I came to Cape Town, I called a number of those rabbis that I wanted to convert. None of them came to the appointment where we agreed. I went back to Namibia. I came back again to South Africa. None met me. And then he sent me again to his father-in-law. I mean, not to his father-in-law, but to his in-law. One rabbi who married his sister. That's the rabbi who allowed me into his house and had a talk with me. I had a talk with him.
Was this in Cape Town?
It was in Cape Town.
Do you know which community, which shul?
Maryland?
Marais Road?
No. You know, you probably would know if I mentioned Rabbi Mevis.
Sure, of course everyone knows Rabbi. Sure.
Yeah.
So Rabbi Mervis was in Camps Bay.
No.
He was also in the Camps Bay shul, but he was on the Bet Din.
Yeah, I don't know, but Mr. Tzvi Golik referred me to him because he's married to Mr. Rabbi Mevis, married to Tzvi Golik's sister. Rabbi Mevis was married. His wife passed on. And then he married a lady from Namibia. And this lady is a sister of the Jewish community leader in Namibia.
Okay.
He was so friendly. As a matter of fact, that time I was the only one. I was the only one black from the native wanting to convert. So it was a surprise. Baruch Hashem.
And what year was this?
Sorry?
What year?
Which year?
What year was this?
This time when I met Rabbi Mercy, it was 2010. And that very year, the Jewish community in Namibia changed their constitution to allow people like myself convert after you have been with them for a couple of years. The constitution that time dictated that for them to recommend a person wanting to convert for conversion must be with the community for 10 years. But it was changed to accommodate me. And it was changed in 2010.
Was there any rabbis in Windhoek or in Namibia?
No.
And the Rabbi Mervis that you went to see in Cape Town, this is the same family of the Chief Rabbi Mervis from England? There's a Rabbi Mervis who's the Chief Rabbi?
That one in England is a son to the one in
So there's a brother Jonathan who lives in Efrat, who's also a son of Rabbi Mervis. And he passed away.
He passed away, I think,
a year ago.
Yeah, that's right.
So you met the father?
Yeah, met the father twice. I slept in his house too.
He was very, very well liked and very respected.
Yes. I enjoy
an icon of the Jewish community of Cape Town and of South Africa.
Yeah.
Wow, you went really to somebody who was really exceptionally well respected and loved by the whole Jewish community.
He loved me too. Bemet, he loved me too. Because probably from his perspective, he saw and noticed and realized the energy I was putting into the whole thing. Because the interview that he made with me, or he conducted on me, about my journey, he probably could not take it, just like you. How is it possible that a person he has got a family, he wants to leave all this just to become Jewish? You see how many times I came to Cape Town just to meet the Jewish people, to meet the rabbis I was given in Namibia. No one pitched up.
Can I ask, your wife, was she supportive of you at this time, or?
My wife, Namibia is a 95% Christianity. My wife may probably should not have a problem to convert, but her family, they are very hard Christians.
They're Lutheran.
Yeah. They are very deep in Christianity, active in Christianity. So it influences her. That is one part. Another element to my divorce and the family problem is influenced by the government. Because the government was, when they suspended me, not only me alone, a number of us were suspended. We were labeled things, including those labels were that not only I was corrupt, but I was also infidel to my wife. How did they do that? They said wherever they go, because I was in charge of government houses, government land, building, whoever civil servant, woman, is given an accommodation, they would label to me and said, yeah, you had a relationship with her. And I remember so well. I said, you don't need to tell me a name. Let's meet in court and produce your witness in court. And they shut them off. So I waited any charge that yes, so had a relationship with you. None. To this very day.
And did your wife, did she suspect, or did she think
my
maybe there was some
wife heard the rumors in the government offices, government ministries.
They must have caused a lot of problems.
Yes. Indeed so. Indeed so.
And these were all false accusations.
It's the same ploy. It's the same game that it took just a different face. The same game that started in exile.
This is pure sheker, pure...
Yes. Exactly, yes.
Pure sheker is just untruth.
Yes. This is the same game, or just different faces and different times. So, now...
You developed a very close connection with Rabbi Mervis.
Yes.
Who was an exceptional person,
very
exceptional
much.
Human being.
Very, very much. I enjoyed his shurim. I enjoyed his company in Cape Town. So
they directed you to possibly the best person.
Yes, but unfortunately he could not help me because we are falling under Johannesburg.
Namibia falls under Johannesburg.
Yes.
And Cape Town couldn't have done the gay route.
No.
But that's a technicality.
That is. He phoned his brother-in-law. Why would you refer Fred to me? You know that you are falling under Johannesburg. And then he phoned to Johannesburg. He phoned to Johannesburg Beidin. He said, where would a person from Namibia come to? Not Johannesburg. Because we are falling under Johannesburg Beidin. So I had to go back to Namibia and struggling to have an appointment with the Beidin in South Africa. Only after a tip that came that you have to indicate that you pay for the appointment. Yes, I have to see Rabbi Handler. I have to pay for the appointment, and I paid 500 rand that time.
Just for the appointment?
Just the appointment.
Do you think they did that because they wanted to see if you were sincere, or?
It could be one of them.
But it's a lot of money just for an appointment.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a lot of money for an appointment.
Considering where I was coming from.
Sure, it's a lot of money.
I was coming from outside the country. I have to come and spend a couple of days.
So the traveling, the accommodation.
Exactly, yes. Yes.
And when you met with Rabbi Hindler, who I know personally, was it a positive meeting?
Very, very, very much. Why? Because there was one rabbi who visited Namibia. I think it was 2009. He's from Israel, original from Israel. It's called Baruch, Rabbi Baruch. I forgot the last name. He was asked in front of me. It was on Shabbat. Was asked, what can you help this man? This man has been with us for too long now. We cannot convert him here. We don't have a rabbi here. We don't have. But the man knows a lot more than us, all of us here. And there is the few, I mean, not the few, yeah, it's only few of us who keep Shabbat here. But yet he's not converted yet. And then he gave us, he said, okay, after Shabbat, we talk. After Shabbat, he gave 2 addresses of institution that I should conduct for Giur. One was based in Germany, and one is in Israel. The Israel one called it under Itim. I contacted Itim. A certain lady called Elisheva responded, and they asked, he provided the information that you have, according to the exceptional committee consisting of 3 ministries, including the Prime Minister's office, these are the requirements that you should provide. I provided them immediately. And then they say, a response came from Israel, said, no, we cannot give him a approval for conversion to do conversion in Israel. He must come to Israel first for 3 months on a 3 months visa. Only after if he still wants, we can look at his application. I have done that.
You came for 3 months?
I came, but before I came, I went to Rabbi Hendler, 2014. It's when I was secured an appointment. And then Rabbi Hendler, for 4 consecutive days, asking me to come to his office. Only the first day, he gave me a set of 32 questions to answer. That he did ask me questions. But the rest of the 3 days, he did not ask any question. I would come to his office and sit down, and that is it, Zell. The next thing he would ask, he would ask is, is Namibia peaceful? That's it. But he made something very, very important to me. He called when he asked if I have conducted any institution for conversion. I said yes. Conducted an institution in Germany and also in Israel. But in Israel they responded, and I gave him the correspondence. And he called Israel, and he spoke to Elisheva, the lady I had been in contact with, and said, so what then about this man? And she said, no, according to the decision of the decision of the exceptional committee is that he can come here on a 3 months visa. That's what is that all? Yes, that was all. That's the decision. So I came to Israel 2015 in October. Thank God I had a team to organize for me. They organized a meeting for me to see the Beit Din, and I saw the Beit Din in November.
Wait, here in Jerusalem?
In Jerusalem. And I went back because of the cost. I cannot.
Where were you staying when you came?
Moshav Ora, the place that I told you about. because there was somebody I knew there. I contacted them before I came. So what happened is, so I went back to Namibia.
Can I just ask, when you
Yes.
came to Israel for the first time, and you came to Jerusalem, or you set foot in Israel, did you feel a sense of belonging, or a sense of that you had a connection with the country, the land?
Yes. I had been yearning to be in Israel for quite long after I discovered.
You developed this instant connection.
Yeah, before I came. You cannot imagine that in those, in that time I was here for the first time, how much I used to literally crying at the hotel. That God, that time I used my Bible. God, in the first king, Solomon says, if a Gentile comes here and they pray here, answer him. I am one of those. Now I'm standing here. Please do not let me go outside of the country. And if I go, return me back here. That was before I met the Beit Din. Yes, there was a connection. There is connection. There was connection before I came to the land of Israel for the first time.
And you felt a longing to come, and when you came to Israel, did it, your dream of coming here and being here, did it fulfill your expectations when you were here? Did you feel you belong here in the country?
This is the reason why I'm here. If I did not feel that,
you wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't have been. Would have come back after conversion.
And your meeting with the Beit Din in Jerusalem, was it a positive meeting?
Well, one rabbi, because I was advised to take one rabbi, and I only knew one rabbi, Rabbi Abraham Feld. I contacted him. He said, I will take you. He took me. An interview was conducted by one Diane. So,
you know that Abraham Feld actually lives across the road?
Rabbi Feld?
He lives here in Beit Vegan across the road.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a very good rabbi.
It's a very small world.
Wow. It's a very good rabbi.
And he took you to the Beit Din?
Yeah, he accompanied me, yes. He accompanied me. So...
And that meeting at the Beit Din, went...
Well, to me it went well, but it's probably because I did not expect that I would meet the Beit Din. It went well, but it was only after I returned, Elisheva sent me an email that your application was rejected.
Rejected? Did they give a reason?
They don't give reasons.
You must have been devastated.
And I said, Elisheva, I read in the policy of the exceptional committee that one can appeal against the decision of the committee. She said, yes. I said, I wanted to appeal. She said, this is what I thought you would say. I said, I wanted to appeal, and I wanted to appeal now. She said, draft a letter, email it to me, I will edit it. I did it exactly the same day, that was in January. In January 2016. I did it and I forwarded it. She received it. She came back and she received it. She's going to forward it to them. In March, I was in the northern Namibia with my parents. She sent me an email towards the end of March. She sent me an email. No, it was not in March. It was at the beginning of April. She said, Freddie, approval has been granted.
Wow.
You have to come back to the land of Israel. So, now coming to a bit conclusion of the whole thing is the Jewish community also took a solution in 2010 that if Freddie is going to convert Orthodox, this community is prepared to pay for his conversion.
Wow. The one in Windhoek?
Yes.
That is amazing.
So when Elisheva sent me the approval, for the Ger program, I presented this to the Hebrew congregation in Windhoek, and immediately they sat and they released half of the tuition.
That is wonderful.
Now looking at my life situation at work, there's no work, there's nothing for me. I tried to negotiate with government officials to hear me that I'm going to the land of Israel. What did I get from them? Just shouting and interrogation, as if I was doing, as if I was a productive. So, and that time in July, after the community in Namibia released about 68,000 Namibian dollars for my tuition, and partly my accommodation, I said to myself, my conversion to Judaism is a priority than the job. A job you retire and then you go to the bin of retired people. But with Judaism, this is the truth I have been looking for. Whatever it takes, I'm going. So my brothers were trying to convince me not to go. My mother also tried to convince me not to go because I'm leaving the children behind.
And you were still married at this time?
I was divorced.
You had got divorced, but you'd be leaving your children?
Yes. I said to Mom, my brothers, the job is sweet today, but that's, to me, is not a guarantee for life. I am going, and I'm going to become Jewish. No, God is one. You don't need it. You can pray on your own. I said, fine, that's okay, but I'm going. So I came here in July. The 12th of July is when I landed at the Israel airport.
And this is 2016.
16. Another journey then is started now, after I arrived and after I have officially admitted in the world of yeshiva for Giur. I lived on a balcony, 2.2 meters long, 1 meter wide.
The yeshiva, this is Machon Meir, they couldn't,
They could not accommodate
there was no
me
accommodation?
in a dormitory because of my age. There's an age restriction. So I lived in a neighborhood on a balcony. During rainy season, I have to sleep with the basket to catch water. When summer, you cannot even sleep there only during the night, but during the course of the day, because it's only covered with the glasses, it becomes very extreme hot. But Baruch Hashem, I finished my conversion in that process.
How long did it take from when you arrived to when you finished?
19 months.
It's a long time, 19 months. And you went to, and you were at the yeshiva every day?
Every day.
And did you find the lectures and the shiurim very inspiring?
Inspiring, but you have to confine yourself within the pyramid of the curriculum of the yeshiva.
But could you ask questions to the different rabbis?
You could ask questions, but yet you have to be, the answer will be exactly to what the institution, according to the institution policies.
But they never ever said you're not allowed to. Do they encourage you to search and to ask?
Yeah, they encourage you to ask, yes. I must also admit that the yeshiva I came to, I found the rabbis, particularly in the English department that I was indirected on a daily basis, very helpful. Not only in terms of teaching, but they also have supplied me. Some took me to doctors when I was sick, because I fell sick in that balcony. Some extended their hand to give me some financial support.
And did people invite you for Shabbat? Was the community?
Yes, a number of them, yes.
And did you make friends with other people in the yeshiva?
Yes. I did make friends, but you could see in a human society, there are those who, they say there is a saying, birds of the same feathers they fly together. Language barriers, that I don't speak Hebrew. Also regionalism. People from United States, they wanted to hang out with the United States, Europe, from Africa, whatever. It's good, but if it's taken to extreme, it becomes a little bit uncomfortable for others.
Were there any South Africans in the yeshiva that you gravitated towards, or that you?
There was one guy I happened to know. Not that I happened to know, that I met in yeshiva. He's original from South Africa, Johannesburg, but he lived in London for a decade. So he migrated from there to the end of Israel. He has been in conversion with me. I believe he finished his conversion before me. Yes.
And did you have a lot in common with each other? Or?
Yes, we had something in common, because of probably Africans.
Yeah.
I speak that Africans of self-taught Africans.
Wow.
And I speak Odenlek Africans, as they say in Africans, Odenlek Africans, good Africans. So because of this common background also.
You had a connection.
Yeah.
And understand, can I ask, when they finally said to you, because it's a long wait, 19 months, it's a long time, when they said, you're going to be appearing before the Dayanim for the day of your conversion. Was the day of your conversion a very special day in your life? Was it a difficult day, or do you remember it fondly?
There is no trial is enjoyable. When you are destined to see the Beit Din from the experiences of others, you learn, and then you start building up these questions, developing even fear. What is likely to happen? What if they say no? Because you are hearing stories. What if
there's no guarantees that they're going to say yes?
Exactly, yes. So all these things were consuming me, and they're consuming everybody in a guru process. But I had emunah, faith, that with God's help, I don't know how I will take it if they say no, because I don't know where to go.
You had sacrificed so much to come here.
Yes.
And to get converted. You had sacrificed.
Help me. Yes. I know that I went 3 times. I went to the Beit Din.
Can I just ask, before we continue with what happened to the Beit Din here, why did the Beit Din in Johannesburg not decide to do the conversion in South Africa?
Rabbi Handlers, I remember him saying, unless I misunderstood him, but I think I wanted to believe that I have heard him correctly, saying, you are not South African nationals. We cannot convert to foreign nationals unless you relocate.
So you'd have to actually immigrate to South Africa?
Yes.
Which could take a number of years till you get South African residency. And
yes, but when it comes to Namibians, probably not.
It's a bit quicker. But you'd have to find a job in South Africa.
You have to find a job in
accommodation
exactly,
in an expensive area in Den Hazel.
Exactly, yes.
So that wasn't really an option.
It wasn't an option for me to relocate to South Africa for conversion, because I needed to be constantly in South Africa, because the whole thing is people want to see you at the shul.
They want to see that you dedicated and you coming to synagogue.
Exactly, yes.
And in South Africa you became very close with the Marathi family.
Not that time. Not that time at all.
It was only afterwards.
The Maruti family, I met them in 2017 when the family brought their son to Mahon Meir.
It was Victor Marathi who...
That's right. It's when I met the family.
Oh, Yani, okay.
But before I did not know any.
But your experience with Rabbi Handler, it was a positive. You saw him as a sincere, very...
Him is a sincere. It was coupled probably with experience and being an elderly person. His judgment is sincere and honest, because having given me a letter of recommendation,
I think it helped.
It gave more weight, because it's not coming from just a rabbi out of the street.
It's
a Beit Din secretariat.
Sure. And him making the phone call.
He made a phone call.
I think they made a big difference.
Yes.
And when you went to the for your Geirut here in Israel after the 19 months, did they ask you difficult questions in that encounter when you were in front of the Dayanim?
Well, I should say yes. But the Beit Din, my experience, it's not about difficult questions. It's about their personal observation.
Mm-hmm.
How you conduct yourself. Do you demonstrate knowledge? Because if you demonstrate knowledge, it could be a sign of faking it. That is my observation.
Mm-hmm.
But struggle in your knowledge to answer the question is a proof also of struggle and the commitment.
Yeah.
Because it happened to me. How? Recite Shema, the first paragraph of Shema in Hebrew. There is no one who speaks in Hebrew in Namibia. At that age, I was learning a new language. For me, it was a challenge. I knew Shema, the rest of the 3 paragraphs of Shema by heart, but in English. I could daven Mincha, Amidah by heart without looking at the Siddur, but in English. Mm-hmm. Now to take me out of that into a new language,
it's very difficult.
Unless you permit me to read it. But if you are saying I should recite it by heart, I had problems. Yes, that is the difficult part of the meeting the Dayanim.
Did they allow you to read it?
No. They wanted to.
And could you say a part of it by heart?
Only the first paragraph of the Shema. Shema Israel.
Did they allow you to say it in English?
No, they allowed me that they wanted me to say the whole paragraph in Hebrew.
And when you said you could do it in English, did they give you permission to say it in English?
No.
But they could see that you were being honest.
Yeah, but to them it was a different story. I said, sorry, I don't know that in Hebrew. I only know it in English. Only in the second meeting, one Dayan said to me, so you only know it in English? I said, yes. Can you do it in English? Then I did it. Only after
So you had to have 2 meetings with the Beit Din? 3.
Only after I was informed that no, the Dayan who conducted the second meeting said, you are a criminal and you are a king. I said, I know where it comes from. Criminal is because when I was asked to provide my CV and the detail of my life, I have included my detention in Angola by the liberation movement I served. For them, before that committee, is that I was prosecuted and sentenced. So I was a criminal. Lucky enough, in Machon Meir, there is a rabbi, Yosef Digovitz, who is originally from Russia, and he knows the history of a number of liberation movements in Africa that they were supported by Russia. I sat with him and I said, I understand your story, but this is who else could corroborate your story apart from you? I said, that is easy. So I had to write to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in Namibia and the two organizations for human rights in Namibia. Within a week, they came back to me that man you see is one of the few survivors of torture and the murder. The few who survived. To us, it's a book of our history, of our struggle. Those letters were forwarded to Rabbi Digovitz. He translated them into Hebrew. Is when, and again, about the kingship, yes, I wrote Rav Digovitz a text. I said, yes, from my mother's side, I belong to the loyal family of my tribe. And from my father's side, yes, I belong to the royal family of my father's side. Yes, I have got that royalty within me, yes. So, but I did not come here as a royal man. I came here as an ordinary man, looking and wanting to convert to Judaism as I am. Not as a royal descendant, whatever. From there on, it's only when I was, I went to 4. Sorry, went to 4 meetings. It's when, after all these things, when I was admitted to the 4th meeting, and the rabbi who conducted the second and
at the 4th meeting.
Well, yeah, well, no, the Dayan who conducted the 2nd and the 3rd meeting, at the 3rd meeting, the rabbi said, now, I remember so well, he said, now I am going to write a recommendation. But that when he said that, in his mind was, my giur would start on that day, not before. And I raised an issue with my rabbis in Machon Meir. I said, I have got a letter of approval to come for Giur here. That was given before I came to the land of Israel, 2016. Why would I start a Giur now after having been given a
letter of recommendation,
of a permission,
acceptance,
more than a year ago? And the Rav Digovich said, we will speak to them again. Only later, a week or 2 weeks later, Rav Glassman said he was made the rabbi at Beit Din. He was made to rectify the mistake he made.
Wow.
That my giur only starts from the day I appeared before the Beit Din. Not the Beit Din, but before him, the one Dayan. Okay. So it did not take that long. Probably it took 3 months. And then I was informed by my rabbis in Machon Meir that I'm finally going to the Beit Din. I came to the Beit Din. They asked me, if I remember, only 2 questions. I mean, not 2 questions, but I only remember 2 questions.
Do you remember what they were?
Yeah. Why do I want, it says, why do you want to join a group of people that is so hated by the world? I look at them and I said to them, I think I have got an opposite answer. And they said, what is your answer? I said, the Bible that I'm reading, my rabbis taught me here. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, it's a chapter that consists of 69 verses. 15 of them are warnings, but the rest are cases that if you do not do this, this will happen. So for me, if a Jew does right, then nothing will happen to a Jew. But if he does opposite, this is what it happened. Everything that was written will happen. And the elder Diane said, so it's about us. I said, that is how I understood. That chapter says. The next question was, did you leave Christianity? I said, yes. I would not have come to this far if I did not. I did not meet a Jew in my life. I've never been in a Jewish neighborhood. I discovered a Jew on my own effort. I was not influenced by any. I did not come in contact with any Jew. But it led me this far. That's all I could remember. My answers were, and the questions were. That is it.
And when they said you are accepted?
And then at the next moment they said, the chairman of the Beit Din, the judge in the middle said, we have decided to accept you into the Jewish nation.
And what was your feeling at that point?
That was the most emotional moment I ever felt. And I cannot remember having felt that way before. It was a relief. It was a feeling and a sense of belonging. Was emotional, almost cried. So it was done.
And when you went into the mikveh, was that a very spiritual experience?
Before that, they gave me a letter to check my brit. That my brit was conducted. When was that? 2007 already.
Did you have to do a whole circumcision?
No. But they check it.
But in your
it was proper.
When you were a little boy, you had a
No.
circumcision?
No. I did it in my adult life, 2007.
You did in 2007?
Yeah, with my 3 boys.
And was that in a hospital?
Mm-hmm.
Were you under general anesthetic?
What?
You were put to sleep when they did it?
Yeah.
It's a major operation.
Nice. Such a couple of minutes.
So they checked the Brit Milah that it was okay.
Yeah.
And then when you went into the mikveh,
I didn't go to the mikveh on the same day.
I know, but when you went...
So I went to the mikveh.
Was that a very spiritual experience, going into the mikveh?
A couple of days later.
Do you remember it being a very special spiritual experience?
Yeah. A tremendous one. But there was something more to that, because after they made me recite a bracha in the Shema, if I remember. I came out, I dressed up, I went to the hall. One Dayanim came to me and said if I want coffee. I said yes. They gave me coffee, gave me cookies, and said you have to go home. Before sunset, you have to put on tefillin. Do you have got tefillin? I said yes. So you have to go home, put on tefillin. But there was something very, very strange. As I was walking from there, number one, I was light. I feel that I'm floating. But I was asking myself, what really happened today? Who really am I? Yes, I see, I'm walking, yes, I feel everything, okay, I can see. But what now? Is that all what I was really waiting for? Nothing else? Is just this? You are a Jew. Is that what I expected to hear? Or there is, do I still expect something else? I was a new person, but this new person was in a world of confusion, not knowing who he was before, and who he is now, and where is he heading to. That is how I felt. Until on Wednesday of that week, one of my rabbi, my Gemara rabbi, said to me, Eli, he used to call me Eli, you need to take a break. Take a break and ask yourself, what exactly do you want? In my experience with the Gerim, is that they have passed through stages of experiences, and a number of them they could not take it. They fell into, he used a different term that I forgot now. It's better to take a break now and ask yourself what you want. I can for certainty say, with certainty, that to this very moment I do not know my direction. I don't. I do not know my purpose. I feel I don't have any value, because I feel I'm just floating. You don't speak the language Hebrew. You know, to enter the labor market. You don't have a place because you don't have a job. I had the family, meaning a wife. I'm not married now. Where am I really going? Where am I being headed to? I still have got questions. This is my world, not a confusion, but this is the world that I'm occupying now. The world of questions. Yes.
But I just want to mention, you know, the whole thing in Judaism, really, in the Gemara, is just questions. Always questioning, always not just accepting, but to question and to advance and to look for answers. And you are in Hashem's land, in Israel, where every day being here is a miracle in itself. People came here from the ashes of the Holocaust, where they lost everything. They lost their families, they lost their lives and their dear ones, and they rebuilt. And this is a country of rebuilding and opportunities, and every day is lived. Every day there's something happening. It's the most remarkable country that you made the decision to be in, and it's a nation that
you're right,
that should be a Or LaGoyim, a light unto all other nations.
You're right.
And please God, you chose the name, and I just want to ask you, it's such a beautiful name, Al Natan. What made you choose Al Natan?
It's a translation of my name I was given at birth. Pengo Njabit means God has given.
Well, God has given you and should give you the strength to continue in your search and in your journey.
Besod Hashem.
And you really have, I just want to thank you personally, but you really have, if I can come through.
Yeah, please do.
So, Almatan, Freddie, coming from Namibia, your journey, your honesty and your sincerity is something absolutely remarkable, and your dedication and your sacrifice from being a fighter, a liberation fighter, you fought to get to this point. You sacrificed so much. Even leaving your home, to sacrifice for you as a liberation fighter. And then to find the truth, you sacrificed so much. You were a fighter for looking for the emet, for the truth. And Hashem has directed you here. And the battle it hasn't been won yet, but it's a journey that, please God, you'll just have success and mazel and bracha. And you really deserve it. If anybody deserves it, you do.
Please God.
You should just, it's been so inspiring listening to you, and I so appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And you are really inspiration to all of us. And you are a fighter that we can all be. It's admirable. It really is. And you should just have real mazel and bracha and all of Hashem's blessings.
Amen, amen. Amen, amen.
And we go like this. But thank you so very, very much.
Well, I wanted to thank you very much for having taken this opportunity to have, or to give me this opportunity to share my part of story. This is just a small fraction from my story. It's worthwhile to share my story, although not probably for publication, but to share, somebody to share with.
It's for everybody who watches this will be so inspired, and so they will receive so much from your life journey.
I always take courage with a verse in Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 5. This is a pasuk that pronounce a curse to a man who trusts his fellow man. After I have discovered Judaism, I built such a strong faith to trust Hashem in everything. That's why I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you really, really very much.